Welcome everyone to another action figure review for my 1/12 scale collection. Today we're going to be taking a look at the PC Toys Imperial Hackers, aka the Matrix line, and this time we're going to be taking a look at the PC number 25, which is the Trinity figure. Those of you who followed the PC Toys lineup, of course, will know that this is a third party, so unlicensed. It won't have any of the official names or titles on their packaging, but I'm pretty sure you can guess by looking at this box with that green coding as well as the quote "follow the white rabbit." This is based off the Matrix. So it is number 25. Neo was number 24, which was the first figure that we got from this month. And this is the third figure, in fact, from PC Toys based off the Matrix line. We got Neo from the first film as well. But just looking at the boxes of the second Neo and Trinity, there isn't much to differentiate them apart from the size of the box and, of course, the number 24 and 25. And apart from that, there's nothing much interesting going on in terms of the packaging. So let's get everything out of the box and take a closer look. So before we take a look at the Trinity figure itself, I'm going to quickly run through all the accessories that's included. Of course, I will go through all of them one by one in more detail and pair them up with the actual figure. So first, they've included a stand, and this, I believe, is the same one as the Neo 2.0. It is a plain black one, so no titles, names, or patterns on it. And you just quickly build it with the holder. It's definitely a nice touch because it's not every day do we get a 1/12 scale figure that includes a stand. Of course, it's never the priority to have a stand in a figure, but I think it's always a bonus, and it kind of gives it that premium feel, I guess, kind of like your Hot Toys or Mezco figure. And then we have the bag, which I think you can all remember from the first movie, the lobby shootout, when she goes through security. And it is made out of soft material, and it's got like a 3D type of feel to it. So I'm pretty sure they put some sort of sponge or foam inside. I can quickly just take a look, and yeah, they've included some sort of sponge inside. I'm not too familiar with these names. I did a bit of research, and this I believe is the Micro Uzis. And then we also have some handguns, which is the Eagle Marks. They've also included some holsters. For the Neo first PC Toys, I believe it was already attached to his belt, but this one includes it separately. And then of course we have the trademark sunglasses, and then we also have an extra jacket, the short version. And then they've included a bunch of hands, 4 sets, which I believe is the same as the Neo second figure, so plenty for interchangeability. And they've also included an extra pack which says it's a leg replacement fittings. So here is the PC Toys Trinity figure right out of its packaging, and my first impressions is this is a pretty good representation of Trinity from the first Matrix. And I say the first Matrix rather than the Matrix trilogy because I believe this is based on the first movie from 1999. The long jacket is from the lobby shootout, probably the most iconic scene in the film. And I'm sure most fans and collectors would want a Trinity from the first film so they can pair it up with the first PC Toys Neo. That's just my opinion. And as well as that, of course, we will take a closer look at the face sculpt, the proportions, and just all the accessories and materials. And I think the costume looks pretty good. I know it's not real leather, but you can see that they've used some sort of shiny material. And back in the day, of course, the Trinity fashion or even the Matrix fashion with the sunglasses, the leather look was so memorable, and it was actually a trend. A lot of people wanted that look, and I think they've kind of reflected it on this figure. Some figures can sometimes look a bit tacky or cheap, especially when they're using some sort of shiny look. But for me, I think this matches really well. It has a nice blend of real materials, as in soft materials, and the plastic like on the vest, the belt, and the boots. And then of course the proportions, I would say it looks about right from my guess. Let's quickly put in the Neo figure from 1.0, and obviously Keanu Reeves is taller than Carrie-Anne Moss, so I say the proportions are right. So we'll of course compare all of them later on with the other Matrix figures I have in my collection. And now I think we can take a closer look at the face sculpt. And does it look like the actress Carrie-Anne Moss? Not too sure. I wouldn't say it's perfect. I actually prefer the Keanu Reeves face sculpts in the first and second figures. I think that had around a 85% look of it. This one's probably a bit lower, maybe in the 70s. It's not a terrible look of her. I think you can definitely see the resemblances, but I think maybe some parts in the eye isn't quite there. Some angles, I think it looks okay. So she'll definitely need the shades on to upgrade this look. So that's just the first quick look at the Trinity figure, and now we can move on to the articulation. So now we can test out the movement of the Trinity figure. As we know, with the soft materials, you have to be extra careful because you don't want to rip any of the parts. So for this Trinity figure, we know that she has a interchangeable jacket, so it shouldn't really be a problem, but there will be some sort of limitations. I'm going to keep this one on just to test out the articulation because I'm sure a lot of you want certain poses with this look. So I'm going to try out the head sculpt first as usual. So it can go side to side, no problem. And it can go all the way around if you want. And then it can tilt sideways and then downwards and then upwards, no problem. And I noticed one thing that's quite interesting is there is movement in the neck. So when you kind of turn her head side to side, the skin kind of goes with it because it's made out of a soft rubber material, and this is something I don't see that often in figures. So this is definitely fascinating to have this. It gives it that realistic look, so wherever her head turns you can see that the skin kind of moves with it, and that's definitely interesting, and maybe we'll see more of that in future figures. That's just one thing I noticed. And then for the arms, so obviously we always go side to side, and as you can see already, the jacket is kind of limiting the side movement, and then we can move it forwards and backwards, but you can see that there's definitely limitations, or at least I'm doing it very carefully. And then for the arms, they bend, there's rotation on the hands, hinges as well side to side. And then for the body, it can go side to side. I just noticed that the vest is not a hard plastic, which I mentioned earlier. It's also made out of leather, so be very careful when you turn it. And then it has a body crunch, so downwards this much, backwards this much, and then side to side, and then rotation. And then for the legs, you can see the standard movement. Be careful when you do the stretch, don't want to break it. And then full knee bend, and then obviously there's a thigh swivel. And then for the boots, you can rotate them. They can kind of go side to side, and then there's no toe hinge or anything. So you can see that I was being extra careful with the articulation because you don't want to rip any of the materials. So I've removed the outer jacket for Trinity so we can take a closer look at the arms. And as you can see, it does have a full swivel, and articulation is a lot more smooth without the jacket. And one other thing is I noticed that apart from the neck being a rubber material, it does actually go all the way to the body. So it does give it that realistic look, and it's very flexible, and you don't need to worry it will break when you twist the arms. So that's just one thing I noticed. And another thing is I said that the vest and the boots were made out of hard plastic, but on closer inspection it is also soft materials. And for those of you who plan to get this figure or have this figure already, I'm not too sure if your left arm will be very loose, and I'm wondering if that's a QC issue or this is used to, of course, put on the jackets and take it off, because on the right hand side the arm doesn't fall off at all even if you pull it, but this one, just a slight tug, you can see that it removes it. So I'm wondering if that's just a like a QC problem, or that is used to put on and take off the jacket a lot more easier. And here is the alternative jacket of Trinity, which is the shorter version, the one she wore in the opening scene of The Matrix. And I think more or less in the movie she had this look rather than the long one. That one was just for the lobby shootout. And I'm still not sure on that loose arm. It is a lot easier to put on this and take off a jacket, but it may be a Kusi issue. I'm still not sure. And one other thing is that apart from personal preference, some people may want to use this for the Reloaded and Revolutions look. But I think it doesn't quite work because in that film she had one jumpsuit on and it was a full zip up, and I believe her hair was a lot longer. So hopefully PC Toys will make a 2.0 of Trinity. And now we can test out the trademark sunglasses. And for the Neo figure, I think the sculpt was actually pretty good. It did resemble Keanu Reeves with or without the sunglasses, although it did upgrade it when he put them on. And for this figure, I think the likeness isn't quite there. It's okay, but let's try it with the sunglasses. And you can see that it's a very small piece, so you have to be very delicate and careful when you put them on. You don't want to snap them, and they can actually lose sight if you drop them somewhere. So just be extra careful when you put on the sunglasses. So here it is, and I think it does kind of improve on the likeness, although it's not that much. I guess most people would probably prefer this look over the one without it. So yeah, that's the sunglasses look. So the figure does include these two holsters which are removable, so we'll just put them on first and then take a closer look. So here I've put the two holsters on, and it's kind of flexible where you want them. If you want to put it closer to the front or towards the back, it's up to you, because you just clip it onto the belt. But it did take a bit of time. It may seem quite simple where you just zip it through the belt and then you just clip it on, but it took me about 10 minutes just to get them on. Because this belt kind of was a bit loose towards the back, kept falling off. But you can see that it's kind of just there for show, because I've tried to put one of the pistols in. It does work, but it doesn't fit right in. So I'm pretty sure this is there just for display when she's actually holding onto the guns. So I'm not too sure why they did it like this. I guess it is easier to take off and on, but they could have done it another way where you just clip it onto a peg, which I've seen on some figures before, but I guess they just wanted to have it like this. So keeping with the standard hands out of the box, I've put on the guns, and this of course is a classic look of Trinity, and you can't really have the Matrix figures without guns, especially the first movie. So this is definitely a great look. And here it is switched up with the second set of guns. So for the alternative sets of hands, we have 4 extra ones. So the first set is some open fists. For the second set, we have some relaxed palms. For the third set, we have some grapple hands, which I believe is for the bag. And for the final set, we have 2 very different ones. On the right is another trigger hand with a slightly closed finger, and on the left side is another relaxed palm with slightly curved fingers. And here is that trademark look of Trinity from the Matrix lobby shootout. The sunglasses, the long jacket, and of course that bag. And you can see that this is a pretty iconic look. One thing I do notice, I am being a bit picky, is the actual bag only had the short strap which he was holding on to. It didn't really need this long one, but I guess that's just me wanting it to be as close as the actual movie. But you can see that this is a very good look. And now I'm going to throw in the Neo figure from the first PC Toys, and then you have that lobby shootout scene, which of course looks amazing. And making use of the stand, you can recreate some classic Trinity scenes like the flying kick in the opening scene, as well as the wall run in the lobby shootout. So for the leg replacement fittings, this is just some spare parts. Hopefully I won't need to use it. But I did take a look at the Trinity figure, and you can actually take out the boot, and it just has a peg inside. You probably can't see it on camera, but it's probably just a spare part to have. Normally the hand pegs are the ones that break, so they should have added those ones instead, but obviously they did it for a reason, so it's just some spare parts. Now for some size comparisons next to the other PC Toys Matrix figures, with the first Neo on the left and the 2.0 on the right. Next to some McFarlane toys with the Matrix Revolutions Agent Smith and the Matrix Reloaded Morpheus. And next to more McFarlane toys with the Matrix Reloaded The Twins. Next to some N2 Toys Matrix figures with Neo and Morpheus. And next to Trinity herself from the N2 Toys line, as well as the McFarlane Toys Neo from the first Matrix. And here it is next to one of my favourites from the McFarlane Toys line from the Matrix, as this is the Trinity figure based on the lobby shootout. Of course, it recreates that wall run and flip, and it's a great display even though it does lack articulation, especially if you have that Neo figure as well. And the other McFarlane Toys Trinity figure I have is based on the Matrix Reloaded when she jumps out of the window and shoots the agent. And it's also a statue-like figure, but I really like it. But it's very different to what we get in the PC Toys. So now for my final thoughts on the Imperial Hackers, the PC Toys figure based on Trinity from the Matrix. And just like Neo, I'm glad that we finally have a Matrix line in this scale, a fully articulated modern day figure. Because it's been far too long since we had the N2 and McFarlane toys, and we know those are kind of outdated. Even though I do like them, they are more like statues. So bonus points just for that. But since we got the Neo first version and the second one as well, I was definitely anticipating on a Trinity figure, and I must say they have done a good enough job. We have the outlook, whether it's the long jacket, short jacket, or just the vest. And then I believe there's enough posing with the interchangeable hands, the two sets of guns, and then there's good articulation. The proportions look right, and the materials used represent what we see in the film. And also really like the nice touch of the kind of rubber material on the body, so it gives it that realistic look when turning the head. The improvements they could make, however, is the face sculpt. It's not a terrible resemblance, but let's just say I prefer it with the shades. And which also brings me on to wanting a alternative head sculpt, and this is not for the different expression, but just to have one with the glasses stuck on, because I just feel that this one is too loose, it falls off easily. It's not the case for the Neo figure, but on many occasions this Trinity one, the sunglasses just keep falling off when moving it. The other thing is the left arm is too loose. I said this earlier in the video, is that maybe it's purposely done for putting on and taking off the jackets, but it could be a QC issue, and I would have preferred it if it was tighter. Me being picky is not to have the long strap on the bag, but I think that's just a minor thing. So overall, this is a solid 8 out of 10, not as good as the Neo figures, but it's a great addition to what I don't have in my Matrix collection. And I would be glad if PC Toys continue making the Matrix line. I know they have a Agent Smith and Sentinel prototypes lined up, but the obvious choice for me would be to have a Morpheus figure next. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos, and of course check out my Neo review if you haven't seen it already. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.